Today, before I start, I have to tell you which theory we are going to learn today. So today we have to study the feminist theory of state. Okay. Now, which all theory you are doing? Liberal, neoliberal, post-colonial, and which else did we see? Someone tell me. Marxist. So the feminist and the pluralist theory. These are the two theories that remain. And today I shall discuss these with you. The feminist theory especially. So before I proceed, anyone having an idea about feminism? What is feminism? If I ask you, anyone who knows what exactly is uh, feminism? Demanding equal treatment from both for both gender is what Sumana believes. Anyone else? Women rights. Anyone who is a feminist here? I mean, I love feminists. That's why I'm asking. Pay disparity. Okay. Sumana, the host, is a feminist. And what is intersectional feminist? Sumana claims to be an intersectional feminist. So, what is an intersectional feminist?
Sir, we believe that how a social and like political ideologies or political identities combine to create unique modes. Like everyone is unique in their own way, and we believe for equality for them all without compromising on anyone's belief. As far as I consider myself.
Cutting across various sections of society. Okay, now let me explain that this ideology. What exactly is feminism that we shall see, and then what. Uh, I'm not telling you everything related to feminism. There are actually four waves. Heard about four waves? Yes or no? Just type if you have heard about the four waves of feminism. Do you know the name of Alvin Toffler and Melly Wollstonecraft? T.I. Axions? Okay. Okay. So what happened was that it's a fact that in some societies, again I'm saying some societies, women have been discriminated, and that includes India as well. In most or in some parts of India, I mean, the concept of India as we know today, the map was not always, uh, there were some more territories with India. So again, I would say in some parts of India. So the thing is that women have been discriminated. We cannot deny this fact. Now, how it all started? The demand for equal political rights. Okay, that women will occupy positions in lawmaking bodies. Okay, the current Lok Sabha, the current parliament is having highest percentage of women ever in India. Are you aware of this fact? This is the 17th Lok Sabha. So the 17th Lok Sabha is having highest percentage of women ever, right? And so what happened was that the first demand was to give us equal political rights, and by equal political right, it does not mean that give us some seats in legislation. Allow us to vote at least. Give us franchise. You see, when you will study world history, you will know that even in your NCRTs it is given that India gave universal adult franchise the moment first elections were done, 1952, right? Yes, 13%. Europe and USA did not grant universal adult franchise. Are you aware of this? These progressive countries and these who claim to be uh, fighting for and enshrining women rights, they failed to give universal adult franchise for a very long time. They did not have black votes, absolutely right. And it took them almost 100 years to allow their women to vote. And they have the guts to call us all sort of, laced with adjectives. So what happens is the first wave was was about women getting voting rights. Please remember that. Again, in political ideology, we'll study feminism in great details. There I will give you what exactly the events that happened during first wave, who were the prominent names, okay, so on and so forth. We'll discuss this. And ancient Greek thinkers. We'll after this we'll start with Plato, And these Plato has not a very good idea about women. Okay, so uh, traditionally, the European wisdom, the classic European wisdom, was not favoring the women for whatever reasons they had. Now, how many of you believe that men and women are equal? Anyone who does not believe in this? And what if I tell you that men and women are not equal? I sound like a misogynist, patriarchy flowing out from my veins. Again, again, the idea of absolute equality is a myth in itself. Are two women equal? Someone wrote about gender parity in terms of wages and salaries, right? And these are the demands for which most of the feminists voice their concern about. Okay, that uh, when this gender parity debate was going on, I happened to talk to some feminists and I told them that all of you want equal pay for equal work. Very good. Equal pay for equal work is always justified. But when you generalize it with gender, and there was a movie which was being released at that time, it had three leading characters, the females. Kareena Kapoor, that idiot type, Swara Bhaskar, and there was one more, Sonam Kapoor. So I asked her, are the three women getting equal money for the same movie? She said no. I said why? Because someone has a star, someone is a bigger star than the other. So a three actress movie was released. I can't recall the name. I recall the name of the actresses involved. And I inquired that none of the three got the same wages, which means three actresses working in the same movie receiving unequal wage. Is it inequality? It's not, because something other than gender decides what you will earn for maybe a women-centric movie as well. Okay, so first wave was about giving political right. The second one was about economic right, and now we are into the fourth wave. The fourth wave of feminism, and the T.I. Atkinson quote that my Telegram DP has in background. It's a fourth wave feminist, and fourth wave feminists have come to the extent of saying that there shall be, if you are not a feminist, if you are not a lesbian. Feminism is the theory, lesbianism is the practice. A world without men. Okay. Titania McGrath, one of the most prominent fourth wave feminists, says that anyone who is fathered by a man is a byproduct of patriarchy and should be ashamed of herself or himself. I felt like asking Betty, are you a product of photosynthesis? So let us not mix everything together, and let us try to understand what this fourth wave feminism. Host, please enable me screen sharing. A brief introduction we had about what feminists believe in, and I told you it's been a kind of evolving or devolving journey from first wave to fourth wave. Whether what are the comparative virtues from first to fourth wave, that we shall see when we'll study feminism, the political ideology thing. Okay, from Mary Wollstonecraft to T.I. Atkinson to T.G. Grace and everyone. Now, moving ahead from here, what are their views on state? Okay, so if women are not allowed to vote, then can they have any say in the statecraft? Of course not. So the traditional view is, and let us start here, it is an expansion of feminism into theoretical, fictional, or philosophical discourse. Discourse means narrative. Okay. The aim of feminist theory is to understand the nature of gender inequality. Like gender inequality exists, but what is the nature? That is what feminist theory tries to address. Historically, feminists believe that state would be able to bring meaningful reforms to uplift the status of women, right? Historically they believed in this because there was an elected government. Now remember those times, the social contract theory, when it was first formalized, when John Locke came with it. Okay, that there shall be a contract between, I have told you these things little bit, Thomas Hobbes and John Locke and Adam Smith and all, that let there be a social contract between the ruler and the ruled. So the entire citizens at that time had this kind of you know uh, some optimism from the state, including the women. So they believe that state will bring reforms to uplift the status. And the earlier focus of suffragettes movement to demand greater political rights. Suffragettes here means that please give us a right to vote, right to elect people the way we want and whom we should think should is correct one to rule. So that greater political and personal was based on this concept. Like let us also be a part of my state. It's my vote. I'll decide who will be there, right? First thing, foremost, even you study modern India, you see the first thing the Congress said that make us a part of the government. In USA also, the first thing they gave this war cry: no taxation without representation, which means we want to be a part of the ruling elite. Here, what they are saying again that it is our votes that will decide who will form the government. So any revolution, any movement, the quintessence, the prerequisite from the revolutionaries or from the reformers or from the those who are trying to voice a different narrative from the established narrative is always that let us allow us to be a part of statecraft. All of you understood this? Here also you see the same thing. Correct? Nothing to doubt in this light. Okay, now see. They criticize state as patriarchal and demand corrective action. So a state again is an instrument of patriarchy. Like all Marxist, they blame private property and capitalism. Similar way, feminists blame patriarchy and misogyny for all the evils of the world. So early feminists were mainly concerned with suffrage, political rights, the right to franchise, that let us also have a vote. They wanted the state to recognize them as equal citizens. You are not an equal citizen if you are disenfranchised. If you do not have the right to vote, you are not empowered. You are not an equal citizen. The other one is having the same right. So it was thought that voting rights would being women bring women ahead. It should be or being also involved, being women ahead. But even after achieving voting rights, there was felt no substantial change occurred in women's life. Why? Because women are having a limited option. Even after they are voting, the people who are to be voted into the legislature, they are not showing any genuine concern for women upliftment. So even if 10 parties are fielding 10 candidates, even for a country like USA or England or Spain or Germany, I'm talking about West, I'm not coming to India. Because in India, you see 1951-52, the first election itself, right? Universal adult franchise was there. So women said that, okay, we have been granted right to vote, but whom do we vote for? Because there is no actual choice left. All of them are doing almost the same line, and no one is concerned about the women issues. So still, do you think that women issue is an electoral issue in India? Electoral, by electoral issue, I mean the issue that can make or break the government. Do you think women-related issues are electoral issues? Yes or no? No, they are. Certainly they are. Who says no? The Nirbhaya rape case costed the Congress in Delhi and brought Aam Aadmi Party. Aam Aadmi Party was on roads in Delhi protesting against the Nirbhaya rape case. And women's security is a big concern for every state government, including the central government. Okay. But again, our elections fought on this issue that we will make our cities safe for women. We'll do something to improve their mental and physical well-being. Will provide employment opportunity, right? So these things we shall see also. Yes, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Then there is Ladli scheme. Heard about it? Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana. All you have to learn these things. You are appearing. These are important things for your prelims. So we see an attempt being made, right? An attempt being made in the right direction, and of course a long way to go. So only giving political light, which was demanded by first wave feminist or classic or the early feminist, did not suffice. Okay, correct. Now you see what happens. Feminists focused on economic empowerment. This was primarily driven by socialist feminists. It was thought economic equality would bring about women empowerment. Personal is political. Kate, this question has been asked in your main, but we shall not explain it much while studying feminist theory. We'll explain it in great details. when we were studying feminism. So Kate Miller in Sexual Politics, that's the book she wrote, which means state is an instrument of patriarchy. When I look at state up, it appears male to me, is what Catherine McKinnon tells us. Again, second wave or third wave feminist, she is actually somewhere towing the line at times of second wave, at times of third wave. And when I look at state, it appears male to me. So see how state has been typecasted and blamed for having uh, ultra male characteristics. Now what are the ultra male characteristics that you can identify? That's suppressing the weaker, feminine like qualities, not giving equal rights, and that this discourse has actually uh, been made so complex that I remember uh, some 5 6 years back, or maybe before that, I was in my masters at that time, and I was reading this newspaper, The Hindu, and there was this editorial by some Srivastav, a professor of sociology. I can't recall the initial. If I try to find out, I will of course. And you know what he wrote? The article was about feminism and everything, how typecasting males have been, and how they have perpetuated inequality on men. And one strange and weird point that I come across in that article, I can very well recall it now. And if I make little attempt, I can show you in the next class also that entire article. Of course, I can do that. You know what he wrote? That Swami Vivekanand, imagine Swami Vivekanand, and this article is before 2014, somewhere 12 or 13, I guess, 2013, The Hindu. Some Srivastava, professor of sociology in DU, wrote it. That Swami Vivekanand, all his posters are like this, right? All the images that you see of Swami Vivekanand, the same. He's donning a saffron robe, wearing a pagdi, and doing like this, right? Holding his hands. Now, he drew an analysis that because Swami Vivekananda is posing like that, that is why his image is legitimizing patriarchy and going against the women. I was like, what? What did I just read? And then I was like, that how can this be possible? Like figment of imagination, right? How can it work? I was totally flabbergasted because the guy was teaching in DU. Okay, it's a fact, Suman. I can share this article with you because it's not on some random portal. It was on the in the Hindu, and I used to religiously read the Hindu in those times. You see the discourse, and I happened to talk to a feminist that, do you agree with this? She said, yes, I do. Then I was trying to figure out what is there that I am missing. I was introspecting. Like, what is there that I have missed, which these people can come out with? It's a fact I'm talking about. I can give this article to you tomorrow itself. Imagine for a layman, because I was not knowing this subject as I'm knowing now. 2013 to 2020, I also know a lot of things now. I have taught 7 to 8 batches of this optional. I have earned my degree, and I have participated in so many events and debates which have concerned this topic. Of course, written means twice. So the thing is that discourse has been degraded. It's not a new thing. Okay, the discourse has been degraded, and how that we shall see at the end also. That Swami Vivekananda posing like this in all his pictures is a reason for patriarchy and women having some kind of vulnerability that we see in society. Now, on one hand, feminists believe that state is an instrument of patriarchy, and on the other hand, they believe that state can improve the status of women in society. So, if it's an instrument of patriarchy, how can it improve the women's status in society? So this is what is called, if it's an instrument of patriarchy, how can it improve status? This is an ambivalent view. That the feminist, ambivalent means contradictory view. Virodhabhas we say in Hindi. It's an ambivalent view because either it can be an oppressive instrument or it can be an empowering instrument. It cannot be both. Now the thing is, what is the meaning of this? You remember Karl Marx, state shall wither away. But when Lenin becomes the state, dictatorship of proletariat, it's a good thing because now proletariat is controlling the state. Do you see a parallel? Yes or no? Between Marxism and feminism here? because that is what state is criticized by Marxists as well. Until Marxists themselves occupy the state or they are holding the power. Are you able to understand this? So state is bad until I control the state. One similarity, see, feminism, environmentalism, all these are offshoots of Marxism. And you see the similarity here. The modus operandi is same. Okay. Equality should be differentiated. Differentiated means difference individual to individual, it will vary. Equality will vary from individual to individual. I'll leave hypocrisy when we are studying ideologies, then we will see these things, examine these things. That equality needs to be differentiated, and different individuals will have different perception about equality. Simple notion of equality is not accepted by them. For a layman who is devoid of all isms, ideologically neutral, he does not know about ideology. Okay. As a high school student, I was unaware of any ideology. Because I'm saying I was like, what? Okay, this, okay, good. Okay, bad, okay, bad. So for a naive person, there are still people like that, innocent, okay, ideologically innocent. So for them, equality would mean that I have two, you have two. I have four, you have four. This is what equality means for a layman. But for feminist jurisprudence of state, for the feminist theorist of state, equality is differentiated. How they demand that state should take steps to equalize the difference and compensate for the past. As we have accepted this fact, and there is no denying this fact, that historically women have been what? Women have been differentiated. Women have been put under atrocious conditions and discriminated against. So historically, women have been discriminated against. So now, as an enabling right, because women have been historically discriminated. Women are here, men are here, because of historical factors. So now, to elevate them at the same level, some affirmative steps have to be taken. Okay, some affirmative steps have to be taken so that women who have been here, while the men have been here, they will be elevated. How? Through this affirmative action, positive discrimination. Okay, they should be given some special treatment so that they are compensated for the past atrocities and discrimination that were meted to them. Is what the feminist, and who will do this? Again, the state will do that. So you see 33% women reservation. How many of you are engineers? Most of the engineers I know who are into college or who are my batchmates and who are now working into different firms, they support it wholeheartedly. That let there be 33% reservation in government colleges and offices. We as mechanical engineers 100% support it, is what they say. So the thing is that party and this 33% reservation, when this bill was introduced, this bill was introduced during Manmohan Singh ji's time. Still, it has not been passed in letter and spirit. So even if 33% reservation, because economic equality has to be brought by the government, the state. So let women occupy state and then they shall take enabling provisions for their own, right? Women will make women-centric laws, just like Lenin claimed to make laws that would benefit the proletariat. Just like Mao Zedong said that the communist China will protect the workers, the farmers, and the poor laborers. Again, the same line of argument coming here, the same Marxist argument that I will benefit my own section. And you, by virtue of not being a woman, will not be able to know what a woman wants, what her demands and her aspirations. So you should accommodate me into power sharing. Everyone okay with this? No confusion here? See, you favor it, you criticize it. My point is you understand it first. Of course, it sounds similar. 33% reservation, I said, right? It's not sounding similar. It is exactly similar. The bill itself is named Women Reservation Bill. Now you see. Yes. In panchayats, we have this. Again, please, you need to remember this. In panchayats, we have 33% reservation for women as per the Indian Constitution. Some states like Bihar have elevated it to 50%. Sumana, you are recording this, right? Because sir has asked me to record it. So let women be a part of state. Okay. Now, so that they will make such enabling laws that would compensate for the historic injustices that was meted to the women. There is no confusion till here. That we shall see in IGP. Let us not mix things here. Sweden is the first one which said this, that we have a feminist government. We have a feminist foreign policy is what Swedish said. Again, please wait, please wait. Foreign policy paper 2. I told you in the orientation session itself that you're all contemporary uh, international politics and paper 2 international relation. You need to pitch in ideologies from paper 1. So we are at this stage. Do not go to that stage now. There will be a time for that also. And I'll be more than happy to share these things with you. Let us wait now. State should interfere and check male domination in the private life. Now, state must make sure that men do not discriminate and domination of male in private life. Family, far from being an idealist altruistic union, they identified an area of oppression and domination. Now see again, few things we need to be very clear. Feminists criticized the militarization of nations because it was caused by the domination of state by men. They have cited women as peace-loving and would have promoted increased cooperation among nations. Okay, so if women are made head of the state, there shall be no wars. Maybe countries will stop talking to each other, ignoring each. See, there is no scientific theory to prove this, that if women are made head of the state, there shall be no war. Have you heard about Golda Meir? Sushma Swaraj ji used to call her own role model. Please Google who was Golda Meir. Please Google who was Shirao Bhandar Naike. Google who was Margaret Thatcher and our very own Indira Gandhi. Right? So there is no empirical theory to prove that if women are more, but then the feminist jurisprudence, the feminist theorists of state believe that women are by nature compassionate, peace-loving, nurturing by nature. So nurturing, so very close to nature. So they are also into environmental movements. This is what environmentalists believe. Most of them who are females, that because we are women, we will be able to save women environment in a better way because we are nurturing by nature. We are compassionate by nature. Okay, we are caring by nature. Lovely people. Men are, they are not compassionate. They are not this and that and whatever. So two things we see here, that what is the view of family over here. Family again limits, suppresses women. Okay, this is what feminist theory say, that family suppresses women because it defines the role of women. It casts the role of the women, that you are supposed to do household work. You are not supposed to act out of the household work. You are supposed to produce children, nurture children and take care of your children, raise a family, run a family, do household work. Remaining thing men will do. So that's why they say that a family can never be liberating. Okay, that is why feminists are also again family ties. That's why they say that we should not marry, and that's why they have come to the point that if you are not a lesbian, you are not a feminist. Right? Kitson said that feminism is the theory, lesbianism is the practice. Again, I'm quoting from Fourth Wave. Okay, so first thing, that family is an instrument of patriarchy, just like state, because both state and family legitimizes the oppression and gender defined role of women. Did you understand this point, how family is categorized with the state? Yes or no? Did you understand? Harsha, where are you having problem? Of course I will, but can you please tell me the exact point where you had a problem? Okay, I'll repeat it. I think most of you had a problem. Just try to understand this. Yes, state is a patriarchal instrument. This you know, because state is not having such ample defined role for women. Second thing, that Family. Family has for a long time typecasted women. Typecast, you understand? How do I define typecast? Like this is how you are supposed to act. You are a girl. Sit properly. Don't laugh loudly. Okay. Stereotype is the correct word. Yes. This is what I was missing. Thanks, Sumana. So they have stereotyped women that you are supposed to produce, raise, and bring up your kids in a good way. That is why family is seen as an instrument of patriarchy, and it's an area of oppression and domination for women, where women are oppressed and depressed. Because women is supposed to take care of the family, right? She has nothing to do for herself. She cannot go out and earn. This is what the feminist theories are telling us. So their family is just like state. Okay. Now is it all right? Please tell all of you where is the parallel, because it's an institution, right? And like all other institutions like state, because traditionally women have been suppressed, so these are the instruments that suppressed her. That is why radical feminists or the fourth wave are against family. They are against marriage itself. They are against men itself, right? Titania Magra is saying if you have been fathered by a man, you should be ashamed because you are a byproduct of patriarchy. Tough times. Now, they also criticize the militarization of nations. Actually, it holds true for fourth wave. Militarization. Now, see, first thing, women, the second wave was about economic parity. First wave, universal adult franchise. All of you understood this? Second wave, economic parity. Now, second wave will blame capitalism. Again, a parallel with the Marxist. Why capitalism? Because most of the men are holding this big business. Most of the men are holding big business, and they are not allowing women to come to the top. Understood? So second wave is also called socialist feminist. Is it all right? Okay. Now you see. Now what is happening? Wars. They are blaming that because of the lack of women into state, into the power sharing mode, wars are happening. Why? Because women are not there in the power sharing process. Women are not running the governments, and that is why women by nature are peace loving, and also that they tend to cooperate rather than confront each other, unlike men. So that is why wars and militarizations are happening. This point is also well conveyed. No issue here. जो मैंने लिखा है वो आपकी समझ में आया ना? सही गलत पे मत जाना. Don't go into right and wrong. What the theory is saying, this you understand? We will criticize everything when we will study the ideology. Now, after the mid 20th century, now we are coming to fourth wave. My favorite one. A radical trend emerged among the feminists. The state was seen as an instrument of regulation of public sphere as well as an instrument of power. The liberal, Marxist, and the other theories of state, according to feminists, forget one underlying fact that in every culture and society has long subjugated women. So Marxists also do not talk about this. Liberals also do not talk about this. Liberals talk about individual. Marxists talk about the proletariat. No one talks about women. The state is nothing but a manifestation of this ingrained patriarchy. Okay, this word is very special. Patriarchy. So it's a manifestation of this ingrained patriarchy because historically women have been subjugated, objectified, discriminated against, and all the liberals talk about is individual empowerment, and all the Marxists talk about proletariat empowerment. Where are the women, they ask. And because they tend to ignore this question, where are the women, that is why state, whether a Marxist or a liberal runs the state, he will be always functioning under that ingrained patriarchy. मतलब ये चीज इतनी obvious बना दी गई है कि हम लोग ignore कर गए obvious इस चीज. The patriarchy was so much in front of us that we failed to recognize it separately. Is it all right? Second point clear to all of you? It is so much obvious that we do not recognize it as a problem at all. And that's what they blame the ingrained, the deep-rooted patriarchy. That whether you are right a liberal or a Marxist, cutting across the political spectrum, you could not see that women have been oppressed and subjugated and discriminated against, and you never raised your voice against it. Because all your theories have ingrained patriarchy. You talk about individual, you liberals talk about individual, you should talk about women separately. Marxists talk about workers and proletariat, they should talk about women separately. No, that's what. See, Santosh has asked a question. I don't know why it came privately to me. There's nothing private about your query, Santosh. Our conversation is not privileged, right? In liberal theory, doesn't the concept of individual liberty include women indirectly? See, indirectly it would, because individual, women is also individual. But they are saying that it is indirectly. They are talking, they are wanted to bring, what will a feminist say? A feminist would give priority to women-centric views. Why indirectly going for it? Correct. For all feminists, the highest priority is to get the 33% women's reservation bill passed. Okay. So that's what they say. That you have ignored it for a long time. It is ingrained in us. Is it all right, Santosh? The concept personal is political. That sexual politics stuff, the book she wrote. Dominance of man over woman is not confined to public sphere, but extend to all aspects of life. Kate Millett, in her work Sexual Politics and Redefined Political Power Structure, this we shall see. I'll quote from her book when we study feminism. And what she says that sexual politics has redefined politics as power structured relationship. It is an, what is politics? Politics is where few privileged people call all the shots, and people who are not in the power sharing position are subjugated by these people, and women are the worst sufferers. There is sexual harassment at workplace, even in industries, in political offices, in media houses, anywhere you can imagine, right? So this is what they say, that personal is political. This means that me as an individual, as a woman, what I am feeling, what discrimination I am experiencing is not my personal stuff. It has been legitimized by this political canvassing, this political structure, because it is coming from the top. You talk about so many good things, all the theorists, but you do not talk about women right. Are you understanding it? That is my personal agony is actually a political agony. That's why the corrective step has to be taken from top-down approach they will follow. Political, it has to be good, then it will percolate down to the lowest level. Okay. Feminist political theory incorporates a broad scope of approach. It overlays with related areas including feminist jurisprudence, feminist legal theory, feminist political philosophy, feminist-centered empirical research in political science, and feminist research methods for use in political science and social sciences. Now, political theory calls for a feminist jurisprudence. I'll give you an example of jurisprudence. You all know the meaning of this term. Anyone who is not knowing the meaning of jurisprudence, please ask me. Jurisprudence is the philosophy behind a particular law. Innocent until proven guilty is a jurisprudence. You cannot be an evidence in your case is a jurisprudence. Okay? Innocent until proven guilty is the natural jurisprudence of natural theory of justice. Okay, to both of you, now you understood what is jurisprudence. Now you see how laws are derived. Are you aware of the infidelity law? There has been a recent change. What happened? Can someone write it? What was the amendment done to the infidelity law? Nothing to do with martial rape, Sumana. Women have never been punished for infidelity. Do you notice? Sarat, it was the man who was always punished for infidelity. Women was not. That was the law. Now, when some people challenged it, how can you say this? That women are not to be punished? For an extramarital affair to happen, both the parties have to be responsible, right? The law did not punish women, married women. It was challenged, and the court quoted constitutional morality and said, let us do away with infidelity law. Okay. The court said that let us do away with infidelity law If you think that women are privileged, then let us scrap the law itself. So instead of making women equally responsible, the court abolished the law itself. Now you understood what is feminist jurisprudence. Yes, also. Yes, man will also not be punished. Legally not punished. Okay. Law will not do anything. Family, of course, that would be moral and ethical thing. Now, section 498A. Heard about it? I am giving you example of feminist jurisprudence. Domestic violence. Okay. Now, feminists often talk about marital rape. The question for someone like me who delves into the legal matters of the details of the legal matter is, how do you prove it? By the testimony of the woman or by installing CCTV cameras in the bedroom? How do you prove marital rape? By the sole testimony of women, assuming that women never lie. And if this law is passed, again that would be feminist jurisprudence, that women are such gentle and noble creatures that they don't lie. That is why feminist jurisprudence would say, let there be marital rape, and if a woman says that I have been raped by my husband, punish the husband without due process being followed. Why? Because we are endorsing feminist jurisprudence. Understood? Example of feminist jurisprudence. So what will happen when fourth wave will tend to, or feminist theorist of state will occupy power? This is what they will do. Feminist jurisprudence or feminist legal theory will come. Heard about MJ Akbar? I'm sure you have. कौन है भाई साहब? I say MJ Akbar, you say me too, right? I remember as a high school student, I used to read his column in Sunday Times. He used to write a weekly. He's a veteran journalist who became very famous in 1991 Gulf War, Iraq, Iran, Saddam Hussein, right? He went there and covered it, and he became very famous in India and elsewhere also. A very learned guy. I have read two of his books, and I became his fan in high school itself, +2. So there was this weekly column that he used to write, The Seas Within. Actually, it's the title of one of his books, The Seas Within. So he used to write Sunday Times, Times of India, Sunday edition. Now also, as optional student, at times you can read Sunday Times. Not because, ignore the articles by likes of Chetan Bhagat and Shobha De, okay? Those are moronic pieces that you should not pay attention to. Sopan Das Gupta writes there, Shashi Tharoor writes there, read them. And Gurcharan Das writes there. Again, in your ethics paper and in your ideology paper, you can take clues from these men that I mentioned. Sopan Das Gupta, Shashi Tharoor, Gurcharan Das. MJ Akbar is not writing now. Rest, don't read Sobhate and Bachchi Kakaria and Chetan Bhagat, okay? Substandard stuff. Now the thing is that he became a minister. He was MOSMEA, Minister of State, Ministry of External Affairs, deputy to Sushma Swaraj when she was the foreign minister. So there was this Me Too movement that came. And again, as per the feminist jurisprudence, because Me Too, that's why correct. Where is the rule of law? Where is the trial and the redressal? And if that is justice, then why not a Naxali Jan Adalat is a justice? If you are holding views according to the popular sentiments, are we not, see the greatest development that humankind has made in the last 1000 years? As a student of political science, I am telling you, it is in the field of developing what is today known as rule of law. Okay, it has took several dead bodies to arrive at this beautiful doctrine. You study French Revolution, you will understand this. And now because someone is alleging something and it becomes true, it can be true, it cannot be true. Let there be a proper inquiry, let there be a proper hearing. Just because of this has happened, that is why it will be true. You have heard about MJ Akbar. MJ Akbar resigned, though he is still a Rajya Sabha MP from BJP. You have not heard about Justice Ganguly, I'm sure. Have you heard about Justice Ganguly? Now listen. Justice A.K. Ganguly retired from Supreme Court. Okay. 2G licenses were cancelled. A. Raja and Karimoji, heard about it? Ganguly was also in that bench. Even in fact, he was heading that. So he retired from Supreme Court. Then one fine day, a girl who was interning with him wrote a blog that I was molested by Justice Ganguly on her blog. Ganguly was she disappeared. She did not took a U-turn. She went abroad, never to be heard of again. Okay, so she wrote it on her blog, and on the basis of the blog, a complaint was filed against Justice Ganguly. Now I repeated this name at least a dozen times, Justice A.K. Ganguly, because not that someone told me, because that thing was into public discourse. You did not, maybe you were not interested into all these things. We were not preparing for civil services, but I can well remember this case because we have discussed this in optional class. Okay, so now what happens? Because of her blog, a file is being, complaint is being done on someone as high and mighty. Supreme Court का जज होना मामूली बात नहीं है इस देश में. Next thing, the name of the girl I don't know. Privilege of anonymity. Fine, very fine. I have no issues with that. But until the guilt is proved, please listen carefully. Until the guilt is proved, why not extend this privilege of anonymity to the person who is accused also? Are you understanding what I'm trying to tell you? If the girl makes an accusation, her identity is not revealed. But why is Justice Ganguly a household name by now? Isn't the privilege of anonymity should be extended to both, right? The case is gone. That she never turned up for any of the hearing, and Ganguly retired as a disgraced judge. Understood this case? Yes or no? Please ask if you did not understand. Nothing to be asked. See, laws will, Sam, try to understand. Laws will have shortcomings. People walk on road. People are killed in an accident. Does not mean that people will not go on road, right? People will not take out their car for a drive. The thing is, law must not discriminate. There should not be a constitutional denial. Okay, when you go into mud mode of jurisprudence, if you endorse the feminist jurisprudence that whatever a woman says is correct, there comes a constitutional denial. If there is an accused of murder, Sushant Singh Rajput died. We don't know how he died. Someone say he has been killed. Someone say he did suicide. Few individuals are blamed. Now, will it be correct to hang the person without a proper inquiry and hearing? Not at all. And if the CBI tomorrow says that he did a suicide, we must accept that. All people are asking is for a fair investigation. That's why CBI has been called. And it is one of the cases where public pressure has worked. Okay, government was forced to go for this CBI inquiry because Mumbai police was not doing what they were supposed to do, right? So again, rule of law is sacrosanct. The most important jurisprudence I told you for the last 1,000 years, at least for me, is the rule of law. Okay, and even if, again, principle of natural justice, this we shall study in IGP also, that even if hundreds of guilty are going unpunished, not a single innocent person should be punished. Now, feminist theory says that when feminists will tend to occupy powers of position, there shall be a feminist jurisprudence, which means more of 498A and doing away of infidelity law. It overlays with other things also, that feminist-centric empirical research in field of political science. Again, empirical research means that you see on which positions, like often there is a survey conducted for colleges. These are the top 10 law colleges, the science colleges, the engineering. India Today does that every year. I have been seeing it ever since I was in school. So there are surveys done that how many women are into prominent positions in industries. And they used to talk about Chanda Kochar and the likes of Indra Nui and Parmeshwar Godrej, maybe, so on and so forth. How many women are holding apex position in politics? And then for the until she was alive, Sushma Swaraj's name used to come, and Smriti Irani was there. What is her name? Big Bindi, Yechury's wife. Brinda Karat's name was there, right? So these things were done often. This is what is called feminist research method. That Nirmala Sitharaman, of course, right? So how the former president Pratibha Patil, Sonia Gandhi herself. So this is what the feminist research methods are. That how many women are holding key responsible positions both in public and private aspects. You understand how feminist political theory incorporates a broad approach. It is not limiting women to government. There will be a feminist jurisprudence. I just gave you two examples of such laws, right? Supreme Court has scrapped the infidelity law, citing constitutional morality. Now, I have kept one entire class for constitutional morality in IGP with all these cases. Okay, and I'll give you the actual quotations of the Supreme Court of India, what the honorable judges said. Please wait for that. Feminist legal theory, again, that's jurisprudence, political philosophy, and empirical research, that how many women are holding. And then efforts will be made on how this gap should be filled. Like Kangana Ranaut, okay, she often says that I do not need a hero for my film. I can I can make the work, I can make my movie earn crores of rupees without a hero, right? So again, who are the highest paying actors in Hindi cinema? 3 to 4 names will emerge: the Khans, the Akshay Kumar, and Devgans, and things like that, right? So women are again gender gap, pay parity will be here. Kangana, howsoever she tries to assert herself, empirical evidence suggests otherwise. Okay, she has delivered hits, but is she in the same league as the A-list male actors of the industry? Cricket team. Now, male cricketers earn way more than what the female cricketers do, representing the same team, Indian team, at the same forum. Women World Cup happened. Are you even aware of it? I know this, Aman. I'm deliberately not mentioning it. So, how many of us watched, those who are fond of cricket, watched the Women World Cup with same passion as we have watched the Male World Cup? I did not, because I did not find it exciting. Now, as an enthusiast, if I like football, I am a die-hard. My team is not doing so good. Manchester United fan. Currently, it's not doing so good. So I expect the same level of excitement, the adrenaline rush when I used to see the likes of Sir Alex and Wayne Rooney and Robin van Persie in any other sports. So if for whatever reasons that I'm not getting, I have my democratic rights to switch off the TV, or if I'm in a stadium, I can walk away. Right. So again, these things, see, these are very subjective things. What I find worth an adrenaline rush, you might not, right? Maybe you like chess. I cannot watch a chess game, correct? So what I'm trying to tell you is that these things are open to various interpretations. But one of the interpretation is the feminist political theory, that so and so things are happening. Women teams are not paid adequately as the male teams are here, male actors are here, females are here. So they have to be elevated. Okay, this is what they see. So you understood how some question, or there's this tutu sound. There is this you can call it influence of the theory of state of feminist into all other walks of life, like any other theory has. So if Marxists come to power, they will try that proletariat occupy. If liberals come to power, they would say that let every individual have optimum liberty, and the progression, the laws would be same, the society would be molded accordingly. This is what they are also doing. You understood this slide, yes or no? Researchers stated that insofar as almost all versions of feminism involve demonstrating the ways in which politics understood as power relation is present in our everyday life. Of course, politics is what? Power relation, ruler and ruled. One could reasonably describe feminist theory as a whole as a kind of political philosophy, distinguishing factor of feminist political theory from feminism. Okay, how broadly is the specific scrutiny of state, like feminist political theory and feminism as a political ideology. Again, the same Marxism as a theory and Marxist theory of state. Marxists were focusing their entire attention on state. Here also feminists are focusing their entire attention on state. What they have propounded in their theory, they will approach state with same assumptions and postulates. Same thing as Marxists, same thing as liberals. For liberal, for a classic liberal, individual liberty is sacrosanct. So all the classic liberals, or for that matter, neoliberals, will also say that state should go for minimum intervention. Business, government should stay away from the business. Then what would a Marxist say? That private property is a sin, workers should be elevated. So all the Marxist and the neo-Marxist thinker will always intensify on these fields. Similarly, feminists, because of their own uh, empirical experiences, their own assumptions and postulates, they also came up with certain theories and they approach the state in the same way. Okay, these are all the theories of state are nothing but what different ideologies feel about the nature of state. This is okay with all of you? I will repeat it. I said that the theories of state is nothing but an extension of what different theories feel about or imagine about or contemplate about the nature of the state. We are just left with one theory, the pluralist theory. So again, for that we need to know who are pluralists. For liberal theory, we understood who are liberals, how neoliberals differ from classic liberals, and then we ventured into the neoliberal theory of state, Marxist theory of state, post-colonial theory of state, feminist theory of state. One more, as per your syllabus, is the pluralist theory of state that we shall see in the next class. This module, theory of state, will be finished there. Okay, and then there are questions that have been asked in your exam, but before that we need to understand ideologies. So what I am suggesting all of you, that there might be some questions, not all but some questions, which you will feel that you don't know the answers, because maybe you don't have, we have, even if we have discussed, you cannot recall it and you cannot jot it down in on a piece of paper with your pen. Thing is, as I told you, the theory of state are nothing but an extension of how ideologies approach and imagine about their own state, which means if I'm a liberal, I'll have a particular expectation with the state. If I'm a Marxist, if I'm a feminist, I'll have a certain expectation from the state, and that is my theory of state, right? Now, questions are usually asked by mixing the topics. But before that, before we approach the questions, we need to be very proficient in ideologies. I have not touched even 1% of ideology now. I have just shown you the introduction of these ideologies and how they treat state. Now, before going into ideology, I would like to complete the thinker part, because it would be easy for us to understand ideology if we understand thinkers, especially the WPT, the Western political thinkers. So after doing this theories of state, we'll come to WPT, and there you will see the questions that are asked in your exam and what we are discussing. Everything will fall in place. In fact, everything will fall in place in all your modules. Don't worry about that. Just I guess 10% course has been covered by me of paper one. So don't panic if you see some question and you don't know the answer and you think that we have completed theories of state and I'm ill-equipped to answer this question. Nothing like that. I am well aware which question you can write based on our discussion and which question you cannot write. So please leave it to me. Just follow things I ask you to follow. Just read things that I send you. Read the slides. There will be more study PDF that will be sent by my side. Please go through that. That is more than enough. Okay. Is it clear to all of you? Questions, anyone? My only thing is, please don't panic. We still have loads of time with us, and understanding is all what matters here in paper 1. Okay, we'll do that. Which one was the last one that you got? So after Marxist we did post-colonial, right? And then today feminist. These are the two theories that we did. Marxist के बाद post-colonial और आज feminist. These two, right? Okay, so 2 PPTs to be sent. I'll do it right away. Only thing is, for some reason it's not being uploaded. So if it not happens, I'll send it to Ram sir. He can share it with you. He did it instantly. I don't know how. Okay, so if it's not possible, I'll do it today itself. Don't worry. So let us meet tomorrow with the last theory, the pluralist theory, and let us see which questions fall into our range. Delay send. Okay. See you tomorrow.